We've now made it to the end of the 2023 NASCAR season. And with that, it's now that time of the year again. Time to look back at predictions. And for the fourth time on my channel, I will once again be reviewing the predictions from my first ever collaborator, GraySpeed Productions, formerly known as Sonic Rules 831. So let's not waste any time, and let's get right to the predictions.
For the first prediction, we're going to go with Speed Weeks, just like we always have. I predict that the second ever clash to be held at the Los Angeles Coliseum will be won by Tyler Reddick.
I'm back, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get late!
Alright, so the Daytona 500 pole, safe bet to go with the Hendrick car, as always, because it's been like that since, 2015. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott to score the pole for the Daytona 500.
But as you all know, I am the king of Five Nights at Freddy's, and I will not give up my crown to anybody.
And now on to our three-course meal to kick off the season. Starting with the Truck Series, I'm going to go with Grant Enfinger. He won this race back in 2020. I think he's a pretty good pick to win this race. I think Enfinger's going to have a great start to the season and win this race.
It's official. Zane Smith has won the rain-shortened event here at Daytona. Back-to-back for Zane Smith at the World Center of Racing.
And he just got the word from his crew chief.
We were watching when it happened.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. There it is.
This sucks on ice.
Moving over to the Xfinity Series, I'm really looking forward to Junior Motorsports and how they perform this year. I think they're going to light up the world. I think Josh Berry is going to get his biggest win yet and win the Xfinity opener at Daytona.
There it is.
Let's go.
I mean, you had to have won that by 6 inches.
Yeah.
That damage, that's an up and down day that ended in a really high note, and that's cool for them to go back to back.
Oh, yeah. He's making sure it's going to be tough on those groundskeepers tonight.
And lastly, the Daytona 500. My pick for this driver, it really feels like for the last several years, this driver has come so close. He's always been in the running, and he's just come so close to winning this race. I think he's going to do it this year. This guy didn't win at all last year, which surprised the crap out of me, but he's going to win races this year. I predict Ryan Blaney will win the 2023 Daytona 500.
Part of the course, just used to it, and come down here every year to just find out when and where I'm going to crash and what lap I come out of the care center.
Moving on now to Prediction 2. This will be my first time winners category. So in the Truck Series, I'm picking Carson Hocevar and Raja Caruth.
Like the Xfinity Series last year, this year there was only one first-time winner in the Truck Series, and it was Carson Hocevar, who managed to get his first win in the very boring yet infuriating race at Texas Motor Speedway. And just for the record, that should have been Nick Sanchez's first win.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
And after that, Hocevar ended up getting 3 more wins on the season and made it to the championship 4. And next year, he will be going to the Cup Series to replace Ty Dillon in the 77 car. And as for Raja Caruth, unfortunately, things did not go so well for him in the last season for GMS Racing, and there's still no telling what he's gonna do next year, but I definitely want something good to happen for him, because he certainly deserves the opportunity.
For the Xfinity Series, I think there's a possibility that up to 4 drivers could get their first career wins. Here's who I have: Sheldon Creed, Obviously, he failed to make the Xfinity playoffs. He kind of struggled last year. I think he's going to have a much better season, though, this year, and I think he's going to win a race or two. Sam Mayer, he didn't win it all last year, but he's still a pretty decent driver, and I think he's going to get in victory lane at some point.
Sam Mayer is clean. Champion in the ARCA Menards East Series. Looking for his first victory. It's going to come for Sam Mayer in Wisconsin at Road America. Finally!
The next two drivers have the same last name, but they're not related. I'm talking about Chandler Smith and Sammy Smith. Chandler Smith is moving up to the Xfinity Series this year. He will be driving for Colleague Racing. I think he's going to do a spectacular job driving for the team, and I think he's going to get a win as well.
Need to check in hard on the outside, slides it sideways to the start-finish line. It's Chandler Smith, first career victory at Richmond.
Sammy Smith, now running a full year with JGR. He's had plenty of races under his belt. I think you're going to see him improve, and I think you're going to see him in victory lane at some point as well.
During the week, he's taking classes online. On the weekends, he's driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. Today, he gets an A+. Sammy Smith wins at Phoenix.
And now it's time to talk about the other first-time winners in the Xfinity Series that you didn't have on this list. The first of which being Ryan Truex. That's right, MTJ's younger brother, after nearly 13 years in the sport, finally got his first win at Dover, which is quite fitting considering that that's where Martin got his first win in the Cup Series back in 2007. And for this prediction, is it acceptable to add a gray area to include people like Ryan Sieg and even Jordan Anderson? Because technically, they got their first wins this year as well, but as team owners instead of drivers. In the case of Ryan Sieg, it was when Eric Almirola, of all people, managed to get Sieg's team, RSS Racing, their first win at Sonoma. And in the case of Jordan Anderson, it was when Jeb Burton got his second career win at Talladega. And that race was a total disaster, I'm not gonna lie. Now, are there any other drivers who got their first win that I'm not remembering or that I haven't mentioned yet?
Anyone at all?
Me!
Anyone?
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
Okay, fine.
Okay, so now it happened. Riley Herbst finally got his first win in 2023 at Las Vegas. Well, at least the 98 car finally got its first win since 2020 with Chase Briscoe, but I really don't have a whole lot else to say about this. Again, good on Riley, but that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about that.
Now, lastly, for the Cup Series, last season was absolutely insane. We had 19 different winners, which ties for the most in the modern era, and we had 5 first-time winners. Absolutely insane. We had 5 first-time winners. This year, however, I think we're only going to get 1 full-time winner, and I think it's going to come during the playoffs. I predict that Noah Gragson...
You know, during the first half of this season, I was beginning to think that this would be the first year since 2015 that we would have 0 first-time winners in the Cup Series. But then there was the Chicago Street Race. Now this is the upset of the decade, without a doubt. To have the first ever street race in NASCAR be won by this guy.
Shane Van Gissenbergen.
No, wait, his name is Shane Van Gisbergen, Australian V8 Supercars champion who managed to not only become the first driver in over 60 years to get his first win in his first start in the Cup Series, but more significantly is the first driver in NASCAR's modern era to win in his debut. I don't care what other perspectives people tend to have on this, I think this is an amazing victory. And there's no telling how much more he can do when he runs a broader schedule in NASCAR next year.
Alright, prediction number 3. This is where I predict who will win the most races across the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. In the Truck Series, I predict Zane Smith will get the most wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. God, can you believe that? It's called the Craftsman Truck Series again, just like the old days. But anyway, yeah, the defending champ, Zane Smith, I think he's going to go out and win the most races, and definitely be back to run for the championship again this season.
Krabby Patty's secret formula. Dang it, give us where is this formula? Ravioli, give me the formula. Crabs, give me the crabs. Eugene Crabs!
In the Xfinity Series, I got a toss-up between two drivers, perhaps a tie. Those being Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier. Just a friendly reminder, Cole Custer is moving down to the Xfinity Series again for 2023. Ryan Preece took his Cup ride. And if Cole Custer can have a really good turnaround and a good bounce back in 2023, perhaps he could take over for Kevin Harvick in 2024.
Oh, hell no!
With that being said, I think Custer and Allgaier will lead the way in the Xfinity Series. And lastly, in the Cup Series, I just think Hendrick Motorsports is going to continue their dominance. I see Kyle Larson getting the most wins. He's going to go, I wouldn't say 10 wins, but he's going to be back more in that 2021 form when he scored the championship, and he's going to be a threat. He was showing it at the end of last season, and I think he's going to show it throughout 2023 as well.
Well, you were right about the first part of this statement. Hendrick Motorsports did continue to dominate this year, as they have now surpassed 300 wins in the NASCAR Cup Series.
This is madness! Madness. This is Sparta!
But the driver who got the most wins was not Larson. It was Byron.
Byron!
So how do you like that? William Byron,
whose racing career started on a computer,
managed to get the most wins in the Cup Series, and now he has finally had his breakout moment. And this is kind of what I was alluding to in my prediction review video from last year, is that if Byron could simply just pick up the pace and get a little bit more up to speed with the rest of his teammates, then he would be on the same level as Elliott or Larson. And that's exactly what he did.
For my fourth prediction, I'm going to do what I've done the last 2 years. The winners at the new tracks. So hopefully I didn't miss anything here. I'll start with the Truck Series at North Wilkesboro. I predict Ben Rhodes will win that race.
And this return belongs to Kyle Larson. A dominating performance, third career victory for Larson comes at North Wilkesboro.
LOL!
The Truck Series makes a return trip to the Milwaukee Mile, which I'm really excited for. I predict Zane Smith will win that race.
What a day for Grant Enfinger. Wins the pole, wins both stages, going to lead 96 laps. He hits him right between the eyes, gets his third win of the year. Grant Enfinger delivers at Milwaukee.
The Xfinity Series will go to a couple of different road courses this year, starting with Sonoma. They'll be back at that track. John Hunter Nemechek, I predict he will win that race.
What the fuck?
And the Xfinity race at the Chicago Street Circuit. The Xfinity Series will be racing with the Cup Series that weekend. I predict Daniel Hemrick will get a second career win.
There is the winner of the Xfinity Series race from the streets of Chicago. All smiles for Cole Custer. It has been determined that they will not go back to racing here on the streets.
Speaking of the Cup Series, one of the biggest things circled on the calendar is also the All-Star race, as it'll be held at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It'll be the first Cup race held at North Wilkesboro since September 1996, when Jeff Gordon picked up the win. Well, I predict that Denny Hamlin will win the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro.
NASCAR's return to North Wilkesboro will send Kyle Larson to victory lane in the NASCAR All-Star race for $1 million.
Holy smoly.
And lastly, for the Cup Series race at the Chicago Street Circuit, a race that a lot of us are keeping an eye on the NASCAR schedule. I can't help but, though, go with the safe bet. I think Austin Cindric will pick up the win there.
Wrong! Has been 60 years since a driver has won in their series debut. Well, through turn 11, Shane Van Gisbergen has been perfect. He has navigated the streets of Chicago to perfection. The final time, onto the front stretch. He comes to the checkered flag. He's won the very first street race in NASCAR.
The Hobbit's the only thing about New Zealand. Have you seen Lord of the Rings? This is me in New Zealand.
All right, let's move on to the fifth prediction I have. There will be fewer winners in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2023. Like I mentioned earlier, last season was brought up with 19 different winners, and it was historic. 2022 was amazing. But now, with everyone having a season under the next-gen car, I think that number is going to go back down to about, I want to say 13 to 15 different winners.
There ended up being 15 different winners in the Cup Series this year, which tops out right at the maximum of this prediction. But once again, I still can't help but go back to last year and what could have been if just one additional driver had managed to get a win throughout the season last year. Then we would have had a new record in the modern era with 20 different winners.
Now, I'm sure there's some F1 fan that's madder than hell at me right now. But
prediction number 6 involves Hailie Deegan. Statistically speaking, I think Hailie Deegan will improve in the Truck Series.
That's very funny, Buzz. This is serious!
She's moving over to Thor Sport Racing, but when or if she does some part-time Xfinity Series starts this season, I think she will really do better in those cars that will earn her a full-time Xfinity ride in 2024. Prediction number 7. This involves the NASCAR Cup Series Rookie of the Year. I think it's going to be Noah Gragson.
Even before Noah Gragson got suspended, it was practically a foregone conclusion that Chalkboard Jesus was going to win the Rookie of the Year award. And not just because he was in the better car, but because Noah Gregson's performance in the 42 car up to the point of his suspension was arguably worse than Ty Dillon's run in the same car last year. Now that is not a good look when you make Ty Dillon look comparable in comparison.
Prediction number 8 involves car number 8. This is definitely one of the biggest questions going into 2023. How will Kyle Busch do moving from Joe Gibbs Racing, the team he has spent a very successful 15 years with, to Richard Childress Racing. Will this be a step up for RCR, or will this be a step down for Kyle Busch? I predict that Kyle Busch will win 1 to 2 races in 2023. I originally believed he was going to go winless and not make the playoffs, but now I'm having second thoughts. Of course, at this point, time will tell if Kyle succeeds or not, but it's definitely going to be something to watch for 2023.
It didn't take long for Kyle Busch to quell any doubt surrounding his move to RCR, because he got his first win with the team in only the second race of the year at Auto Club Speedway. Now that is quite the way to make a statement when transitioning to a new team, because going into this year, a lot of people really thought that Kyle Busch was going to regress, but he proved everyone wrong in that very moment. And then Kyle Busch got his second win of the year at Talladega. Now here are some keynote facts about this win. This is Kyle Busch's second win at Talladega, the first of which was over 15 years ago in 2008 in his first year with Joe Gibbs Racing. And the other significant fact about this win, this is the first time the number 8 has been to victory lane at Talladega since 2004, when Dale Jr. got his 5th Talladega win in the EA Sports 500 held in the fall of that year. And then Kyle Busch got his 3rd win of the year at Gateway. And again, this was the first race that I went to in person. And then after that, apparently that was it. This would be the last win that Kyle Busch would get this year. And then in the latter portion of the season during the playoffs, Kyle Busch would be eliminated in the second round. So while the first half of the season went really well for Kyle Busch, the latter half of the season really started to go a bit backwards on him. But overall, it's still a pretty positive season, and it showed that Kyle Busch definitely has been a valuable asset for RCR, as I'm just gonna say it, Kyle Busch is the best thing that's happened to RCR since Kevin Harvick. I have to admit to this. But if there's one other thing that his domination proved for the team, is that it definitively proves once and for all about how truly pointless and irrelevant Austin Dillon's existence to the RCR Cup team really is.
Dillon now a half a car length. We'll see how much pressure he puts on the back of Haley. Oh, he hit the wall. He hit the inside wall and sent him into the tire barriers. We'll see how much damage that has done. It's torn the left front off of Dillon's car. You see the toe link has been bent.
Yeah, this is going to be the end of the day for the 3 car. There's no way he can continue with that much damage on the left front. It all started with contact on the inside.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt!
Prediction number 9, this one's going to be pretty quick. This involves the new TV deal that's currently being worked on, and we're probably going to hear more about throughout the year. I do predict that I don't think much will change. I do think that Fox and or NBC, at least one of them, will stay with NASCAR when we move into the new TV deal.
So on the subject of the new TV deal, it is pretty much looking likely that both Fox and NBC are both looking to return in 2025. However, I am going to have to say this. If Fox is serious about renewing, they are really going to have to make a complete overhaul of the quality of their broadcasts, because they have been on a very steep decline in just the last few years alone. But the other big shakeup that's come in terms of the new TV deal is that in 2025, the Xfinity Series will be moving their entire broadcast to the CW. Now that's quite the change, and that would be the first time the Xfinity Series would have their entire broadcast on a single network since NASCAR's last stint with ESPN. And again, ESPN is the bottom of the barrel. The CW has nowhere to go but up from there. And there have also been a few rumors that came up earlier this year saying that apparently TNT wants to come back into the fray and host a few races during the season, so we could potentially see a return of the NASCAR on TNT Summer Series. But amidst all of the discussions and rumors about the new TV deal, the one thing that we should all be grateful for is that CBS is not interested in coming back. And let me just remind you, if NASCAR did go back to CBS, then that would effectively mean
Destroy us all! Prediction number 10. Let's talk about the Truck Series playoffs. This one's always a wild card to come up with because some rides are still getting announced at the time of this recording. So, here's what I have written down. I'm probably going to be really off with this later on. I have Nick Sanchez, Haley Deegan, Corey Heim, Grant Enfinger, Rasha Caruth, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar, Stuart Friesen, Ty Majeski, and Ben Rhodes. The Championship 4, I predict, will be Zane Smith, Ben Rhodes, Grant Enfinger, and Ty Majeski. And I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion will be Zane Smith.
Mia? What's the matter? Mia?
I have a question for God. Why?
Prediction number 11. 2311 Racing breaks out. I think 2311 Racing will pick up the pace this season. I think we will see wins from both Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. I think Bubba Wallace will get at least one win, while Tyler Reddick earns about 1 to 3 with both drivers making the playoffs. Not to mention, now they're going to potentially run this third part-time car. We know it's going to be entered for the Daytona 500 with Travis Pastrana behind the wheel, which I don't think anybody had that on their bingo cards. We may even see Kurt Busch drive a third part-time car if or when he is cleared to race by doctors.
Unfortunately, this year was not the big breakout season that 2311 Racing was hoping to have, because the only driver who ended up winning for this team was Tyler Reddick, and he got his first win with the team at COTA. But that was his only win in the entire regular season. But then, Reddick ended up getting his second win of the year in the second race at Kansas during the playoffs. And as for Bubba Wallace, this is even more unfortunate to say, but he did not end up winning a race. But on the other hand, there still were a lot more positive gains that he made, as for the first time in his Cup career, he managed to make the playoffs, albeit just barely, but he also managed to make it past the first round, again, without any wins. And he ended up finishing the season in the 10th spot in points. So I still think that even though he didn't win, he still showed a lot more improvement for himself. And I really think that for next year, 2311 Racing is only going to get better from there. And on the subject of Travis Pastrana, if you would have told me that the guy who made a competitive freestyle run at Monster Jam World Finals 10 in 2009 would go on 14 years later to qualify for the Daytona 500 on speed with 2311 Racing, and even though he was caught up in the wreck in the last lap, he would still manage to finish 11th, I thought you would have been out of your mind. But at the same time, that's the reality we now live in. And this is also very unfortunate to say as well, but Kurt Busch has officially announced that he is retired. So he's probably not going to be making any starts with 2311, probably ever. And that certainly is very, very depressing to hear.
Prediction number 12, the Xfinity Series playoffs. Alright, so here's who I have making the Xfinity Series playoffs. Cole Custer, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Justin Allgaier, Josh Berry, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick, Chandler Smith, Sammy Smith, John Hunter Nemechek, Austin Hill, and Riley Herbst. And my championship 4 consists of John Hunter Nemechek, Brandon Jones, Cole Custer, and Josh Berry. For my 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion will be Brandon Jones.
Oh, Johnny, did you back the wrong horse? Will you hose him, please?
Hose him.
What?
My 13th prediction involves Joe Gibbs Racing. I predict that Joe Gibbs Racing may have a down year. I think only 2 Joe Gibbs Racing drivers will make the Cup Series playoffs. I could see them struggling a bit, similar to what Hendrick did in the late 2010s. Ty Gibbs will struggle at first, and I think he may have a little bit of a rude awakening coming as well. But I think he'll pick it up in the second half. Christopher Bell came into the picture more in 2022, and I think he's going to be the lead man this season. Hamlin, I think he'll win 2 to 3 races, but I also think that Martin Truex Jr. may regress a bit more. He missed the playoffs because, well, of more unfortunate circumstances. Despite that, he was like top 5 in points overall. The only problem was he didn't win.
You serious?
It should have been obvious when Martin Truex Jr. won the Clash at the start of the season that he was going to do anything but regress. And as for JGR as a whole this year, their season was honestly not that bad because 3 of the 4 drivers managed to get wins this year. The obvious weak link here being Ty Gibbs. But if you want to talk about teams having a down year, let's shift the focus to Stewart-Haas Racing.
This looks neat. I wonder...
Now, this team really hit an all-time low, because for the first time in their history, Stewart-Haas Racing went winless in the Cup Series. And now that Kevin Harvick is retired, I fear that this team is on the path to a downward spiral that is very similar to the one that Roush Fenway Racing went through during the Gen 6 era, which makes me feel that it would be in the best interests of the team to downsize to 2 cars. But apparently, Ford has to make it mandatory for them to be a 4-car team, otherwise they'll lose their manufacturer support, which is total BS. But honestly, there really isn't a whole lot else that I can say about this. But the only thing we really can do is just watch and see how things unfold for SHR next year.
But let's move on to my 14th prediction. I predict that North Wilkesboro will be a one and done for the Cup Series.
So I have to be honest with you all on this. Before the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro happened, I was totally ready to respond to that prediction with this.
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
But then, after the All-Star race happened, again, I can't lie to you, this really was my initial first impression with how the race went.
Well, what are you waiting for? Can't you see I don't watch anymore? Just get out of here, you stupid, dumb animal!
What's the matter with you?
And now I realize, what was I thinking in that moment? Because that essentially is a mindset that completely goes against everything that I was believing up until that race finally happened. And that's not acceptable. But on the other hand, we also have to say this. North Wilkesboro is going to be back as the All-Star race for 2024. And for the first time in over 40 years, the track is also being repaved as well. So there's definitely still going to be a pretty good long-term future for this track in the sport, and maybe there is a chance that this track could get back onto the main schedule as an official points race sometime soon as well.
Prediction number 15. Junior Motorsports goes Cup racing in 2024. I think at this point, with the talks going on the last couple years, that it's now or never for Junior Motorsports. There's been a lot of discussions and interest behind the scenes. The only obstacle is obtaining the charter, which Junior has said that the value is quite expensive for a charter. However, if the cards are played right, I think we could see Junior Motorsports debut in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2024.
Nope. Chuck Testa.
My 16th prediction, the Cup Series playoffs. Here are the 16 drivers I have representing the playoffs for 2023. Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and Daniel Suarez. And here is my championship for Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, and Ryan Blaney. And I predict that the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion will be Kyle Larson.
Are you okay?
Oh, look at that. A cease and desist from Disney.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Let's go! Let's go!
Johnny!
So for my 17th prediction, I predict there will be one other Cup driver that will join Kevin Harvick in retiring at the end of 2023. I was actually still writing out my predictions before Kevin Harvick officially announced his retirement for the end of this season. That's already been said. Harvick will also go to the Fox booth as well, and I've kind of anticipated. Well, the other driver that I think will retire at the end of 2023 is Martin Truex Jr. The way things have sounded, I have a feeling that this will be his final full-time season, as I think he will be showing a little bit more of regression. And as a bonus, I predict that John Hunter Nemechek will replace MTJ in the 19.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on. This is my home. They're gonna need a fucking wrecking ball to take me out of here.
As for another bonus, I look at the 4 car. This one's a little tougher, but again, if this guy has a big turnaround in the Xfinity Series this season, I could see Cole Custer taking over the 4 car.
How about no?
So Josh Berry is going to be the one who's replacing Kevin Harvick in the 4 car next year. And I've already stated that SHR is on the beginning of their downturn, so this may not be the best long-term decision for Berry to make. And as for Cole Custer, he's gonna be staying in the 00 car again in the Xfinity Series next year. And to be quite honest, that is for the best. Because I really think that it's best for Custer to go the way of Elliott Sadler and stay in the Xfinity Series, because this is where he seems to do the best at.
Prediction number 18, the Chicago Street Course. I predict we're going to have quite a few wrecks, including 1 or 2 track blockages at some point. There are some really tight corners, and I can definitely see a lot of mayhem taking place across both Xfinity and Cup Series races, and I think the races are going to be quite crazy.
He is a good road racer. He will not be an easy pass. Byron in the wall. Byron missed the corner.
Oh, no.
They're going to stack up.
Oh,
no! Cars sitting here with nowhere to go.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
For my second and last prediction, this involves next year's NASCAR schedule. I predict that an international race will be added to the 2024 Cup schedule. Most likely this will be a Canada or Mexico track, though I would love to see him return to a track like Suzuka in Japan.
Japan is an island surrounded by water, and it's beautiful!
We could see the return of the track in Mexico City where the Xfinity Series raced at in the 2000s, or perhaps a return to Montreal or Canadian Tire.
Nope. It's just Chuck Testa.
Hooray!
As for my final prediction, prediction number 20, Auto Club Speedway will have a great send-off. Once the checkered flag falls at Auto Club Speedway in February, that will mark an end of its time as a 2-mile oval and will be converted into a half-mile short track for 2024. The posts have been made on Reddit. The grandstands have already begun being removed. This is happening. It is officially happening, and we'll probably know more information of what it's going to look like next year. I think this race will go great, much like last year's race, as the next-gen car put on a really good first non-super speedway impression in 2022. I think we will see that again in 2023. Honestly, last year's race was the best race that track had in years, and quite a number of tracks can say that too. The next-gen car saved intermediate racing.
Except Texas.
Don't rub it in.
So, the last race on the 2-mile configuration of Auto Club Speedway. And if you ask me, I think this race played out relatively well. But the thing is, practice and qualifying for this race had to be canceled because of snow. That's right, snow in Southern California. I can't believe that one either. And that also meant that the Xfinity Series race ended up being postponed to the evening after the Cup race. And as for the Cup race itself, it still had its fair share of relatively good competitive moments, except for this moment on a restart, which looked very eerily similar to the 2020 clash at Daytona. And then, in the latter portion of the race, it ended up being a two-man battle between Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch for the win. And as previously mentioned in prediction number 8, Kyle Busch would be the one who would end up taking the lead and winning the last race on this well-beloved configuration of Auto Club's track. And with the whole thing about the short track change, I'll admit, at first I was very much on the fence about it, but now, after really taking some time to think about it, this really could end up going one way or the other. The way that I want to see it as a positive is that hopefully this new short track will reignite the discussion about the preservation of older pre-existing short tracks for their continued survival. Or we have the latter scenario, which is probably the one that most people are dreading, is that this could end up jeopardizing the future of another pre-existing short track in the Southern California area, and that being Irwindale Speedway. Because that track has been faced with threats of being demolished for many, many years, and this new California short track for NASCAR could finally be the final nail in the coffin that destroys that track once and for all. Now, I don't want that to be the case, but that's what I'm fearing is going to happen. And that will do it for this prediction review video. I definitely think that GraySpeed Productions had some interesting predictions here, and I definitely hope that you all go over and subscribe to his channel as well. And with that, this is MF17, and with this year now being over, let's start looking forward to 2024.